Hey, it's Jeffrey Howard from Mastermind Mentor International. Thank you for being here for Finish Strong Friday, hashtag FSF. We're going to get started here in just a minute. But before we do, please click the like button, click the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber, and you might want to hit that notifications button, that little bell that's going to give you an update every time we upload a new video so that you can stay up to date with what we do here. Finish Strong Friday is all about mindset. 90% of your success or failure falls right here between your ears, right? So we're giving you strategies, not just of positive thinking, which is all great, not just powerful tools and affirmations, which are all great, but actual tools for productivity, for mindset strategy, and things that you can do to stay on track and stay focused and stay motivated as an entrepreneur. So we're going to get started right now in exactly 7 seconds. Here we go.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire.
Action. Welcome to Finish Strong Friday. Hello, 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 wherever you are. And we are excited. There he is. All right, he's back. What's going on? All right, I was actually just doing the intro and getting rolling here. So
it took forever to open up for some reason.
Yeah, well, we're having wonders of modern technology, but hey, the good news is we're live on Facebook. We are, in fact, live on Facebook, and we're recording, and I just got started. So welcome to Finish Strong Friday, everybody. Hashtag FSF. I know, Eric, you can't make the sign right now, can you? Okay, we'll decide if we're going to talk about that or not. But we want to welcome everybody, whether you're live on Facebook, whether you are live on our webinar, we appreciate, or whether you're on the recording, we appreciate all of you. Be sure to let us know your comments. Be sure, if you're watching this on the video, to like the video and just, let us know what you want to hear about. We're going to do some fun stuff today. We are going to talk about nine, count them 9. There probably are a lot more than that, but we'll talk about 9 brain training hacks that you can use for peak performance. So my name is Jeffrey Howard. You can call me Jeff, my friends do. I am a serial entrepreneur, both online and offline. I'm a peak performance coach and a whole lot of other things I won't get into right now, but we can talk about at some other time. And I am here today with my single-winged business partner. Eric, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and talk a little bit here, and let's roll.
Hey everyone, my name's Eric, and last week Jeff was out of town, and I was having surgery on my shoulder, and so this week I had my follow-up visit with the doc and found out the news was not good. What needed to happen on my shoulder was a lot more severe when he got in there to work on it. So I got a very long recovery happening. I'm going to be in this device 24/7 for the next 12 weeks before I even start physical therapy. And then I start physical therapy then, and then I'm probably going to have full mobility in my shoulder till at least 6 months, and it's going to be about a 12-month recovery. So it's a very long road to hoe. So when it comes to brain training, it's all mindset, right? Everything's mindset. So this injury has what it's done for me. First of all, I was a little depressed when I heard the news, and but what I've decided to do is to use this time to just to become the best version of me that I possibly can be, in every way, shape, or form, both physically, mentally, spiritually, family, financially, everywhere way I possibly can be. I'm looking to be the best I can be. And so mindset is everything. And when you have setbacks that happen, everybody has setbacks. The only difference is how you handle them. It's not what happens to you. It's how you deal with what happens to you. So I'm excited about the challenge going forward, and excited to be here today and on this training, and let's just jump into it.
All right, let's do. Well, you know what? Again, I mean, you hit some really strong points, and congratulations for just being here, because I know it's been a rough ride here this last week or two. We do these trainings every Friday, and our original focus, we started out just by sharing knowledge around certain books we were reading and things along that line. We've sort of evolved into focusing primarily on mindset, but not just the sort of philosophy of mindset, actual strategic things that you can use, things that you can put into action and put into your daily process and routines, really even as soon as you're finished here today. And, our belief is that success or failure starts right here between your ears. 90% of it happens in your mind. And that includes really physical control over your own body. I know one of the things Eric and I talked about this week that he's been experimenting with is brain training for pain reduction, because, it's a thing, it's a real thing that needs to happen. And, we've all heard of the yogis that can, be poking things through their skin and whatever, and not even feel the pain. I mean, I personally believe that we have 100% ability, potential to control everything that happens in our world through the proper use of our mind and our mindset. The challenge comes in putting it into practice consistently over time. And like anything else, you can't, we can give you these hacks today, but just because you do these things once doesn't mean it's going to change your life. These are things that you need to put in practice. And arguably, I mean, these are just 9 things. I mean, there's a million things that you can do. We talk about different things every single week. But what we really want to do is provide you with those tools and have you think of this all as a practice, all of it. Everything we teach every week, it's a practice. It's not an end game. It's not like I'm going to do this and it's going to solve all my problems. I think that's one of the unfortunate things about our society right now is we've become so microwave, so instant gratification, that we're really not taking the time to practice the things that are really good for ourselves. And we're going to talk about some of those things today. So let's just
practice real quick before you
go ahead. Mm-hmm.
You got to put the reps in, man. At the end of the day, you got to put in your own reps, right? You can chin training, but you got to do the work yourself. And the mindset I'm taking on this journey to recovery is physically is that, I've been soft. I've been soft on my body. I've been soft on my habits, and I'm gonna get hard. I'm gonna do the hard work. I'm gonna take the hard path, and get in top peak performance in every area of my life by doing the reps. And so there's no shortcut to doing the reps. You have to do the work if you want to get permanent, forever kind of results. And, I'm not looking to have a quick fix of anything. I'm looking to live my life to its absolute fullest for the rest of my life. And so, and I hope you are too. And if you are, let's go on the journey together. Let's
do it. I mean, I think more and more people, especially in our, I'll just call it a really broad age bracket, people as they get older, are sometimes starting to think, well, maybe my best years are behind me. We strongly believe, in fact, I know my own name, that you can improve everything about yourself, and age is really just a chronological number. So we'll even get into some of that today. So let's jump on it. These are 9 brain training hacks that you can use for peak performance in your daily life. So, what could you accomplish if you were able to use your brain more efficiently? Do you ever have those moments when when something you knew just slips away out of your brain and you can't seem to pull that information up that you need? Do you ever have that feeling of brain fog that just kind of saps all your energy and creativity? And by the way, these are not rhetorical questions. So if you're listening live on Facebook or in the webinar, type in your answers into the chat or into the comments. Or if you're watching the recording, then go ahead and jump in, let us know, because most of us feel this way. There's a belief among many people in our society, maybe even the majority of people in our society, that our brains deteriorate with age and that you can't achieve neurogenesis, which is the development of new brain cells. But recent research is proving that this is not true. This is a false statement. We know that we can re-engage synaptic connections in the brain. We know that when certain parts of the brain have actually been damaged, that your brain has the ability to rewire, and that it finds a new pathway to do the same functions and sometimes even do those functions even better. So if you're like most entrepreneurs, becoming smarter, increasing your IQ, or just being able to use your brain more efficiently is probably pretty high on your goal list. In fact, it's not just entrepreneurs. This is what a lot of people are looking for, especially as they get older. So luckily, there are plenty of totally free brain training hacks that you can use and practice so you can train your brain to be smarter, work faster, and be more efficient. And brain training is a powerful but simple way to improve your brain power, improve your IQ. improve your creative thinking and your critical thinking skills. So let's talk about a few of my favorite simple ways to increase brain power, starting with number one here, and that is feed your brain. I believe this might be the most singularly overlooked aspect of brain health. What you put into your body affects everything in your body, and that includes your brain. And unfortunately, far too many people are eating, I'm just going to say it bluntly, a crap diet, fast food, drinking sodas, thinking that a diet soda is better than a sugar-packed soda, which it's not, maybe even worse, and then expecting to get, any kind of results in your life. So, try doing a clean eating program for 30 days, get off of the things that we know that trigger inflammation. Inflammation is a huge part of the brain, about your brain function. Just do your best to eat organic foods. If you do eat meat, which I love, meat, chicken, fish, make sure it's wild caught fish, make sure it's free range chicken, make sure it's grass fed and ideally grass finished beef if you're going to eat that. It's a completely different chemical profile of food. And you also want to make sure that you're getting the right fuels for your brain. And obviously, from food is where a lot of that's going to come from. Until recently, there's been this sort of belief that the low fat diet is the way to go. You want to lose weight, you got to reduce the fat in your diet. Well, there's some truth in that. You got to reduce the junk fat in your diet. But the reality that we're discovering lately is that our brains are powered and upgraded by fatty acids or a particular kind of fats, particularly those omega-3s, omega-6s, omega-9s. So make sure that you're eating or ingesting high quality fats like coconut oil, especially MCT oil, almond butter, like I said, grass-fed beef, grass-fed butter, wild-caught salmon. All these things have healthy fats that are going to give your brain the best supply of energy that it can possibly get. It's going to kick your brain into turbo.
That's awesome, Jeff. I love that. And you know what? I'm going to play the devil's advocate for a second, because I had a friend of mine who was a success coach. She was a personal coach, and her job was to, help people break through false barriers, right? And I had known her for several years, and I'd seen her in a several year time frame gain about 50 pounds. And one day I said, hey, can I be brutally honest with you? I said, if you want to be more effective as a success coach, you need to take your health seriously. You need to eat healthier and get and do better. And her feedback to me was, it's expensive to eat.
Wow.
And she was struggling financially, and all these things play together, right? She's a success coach. She's struggling financially, probably because she didn't take her health seriously and she wasn't feeding her body the correct things. But as Jeff went through this list of what to eat, I'm sure that came up for a lot of you. Like, yeah, that's expensive. That sounds expensive. Organic food and wild caught fish and things like that sounds expensive, but just have the mindset that I'm going to eat the healthiest I possibly can eat. And the first thing you can do is just eliminate everything that you ingest as far as a liquid, except for water. If you only drink water and don't spend money on any other liquids, coffee, whatever, in the store, and then, you can take some of that money and redirect it towards healthier things as opposed to going to McDonald's and things like that. So sure. I just wanted to bring that up from a practical standpoint of, it's all mindset. It's having the mindset of, okay, I'm going to do the best I possibly can. I'm going to feed my brain the best foods that I can possibly feed it. And I don't know, something like I've struggled with diet my entire life. I've had a sweet tooth and I eat emotionally. But something happened a few weeks ago, actually, when I found out I had to have this surgery. I just had something trip in my brain. I said, you know what? I am sick of living soft. I'm gonna live a harder life, and it's gonna start with my diet. And I'm gonna eat the right things at the right times. And I'm gonna eliminate sugar from my diet, and I'm going to, do the right things as far as all that's concerned. And it was like a light switch. I mean, it really has not been an issue where it's always been an issue for me. And I don't know how long that'll last, but I'm loving it right now. And a lot of times all the stuff comes to is just a split second, making a decision and making it happen. So
and don't focus on that decision for a lifetime. Like you just asked, well, I don't know how long I'll be able to do it or whatever. Well, the thing is, and I mean, you of all people know, like you can only focus on now, right? Today, you're going to do it today, right? You're going to do that today. There's things you've been doing in your life that you've been doing daily for however long it's been, 26, 27 years now. Same idea, same concept. One more little comment I want to just add to what you said, and that is with regard to that mindset of being expensive. At the end of the day, you're either going to pay for it now or you're going to pay for it later. If you don't take care of your health now, it's going to cost you a lot more in medical bills and deterioration of life and all these things that happen down the road if you don't take care of yourself now. So it's a small price to pay to do that.
But at the same time, I've been in situations where I literally didn't have the money. Sure. The only option I had was a McDouble at McDonald's because it was $1 because I had an hour, and I've been there at times in my life. And I'm saying at the same time, do the best with what you have and do the best you can. And, with that in mind, that you either pay the price now or you pay the price later. For sure.
And that's great advice. Yeah. You got to start where you are and you got to work with what you've got. There's no question.
So number 2 is teach what you most need to learn. Oh my gosh. Do that every week. Every week.
Wow. It's so interesting.
Jeff, once you get into that, and then I'll just follow up on.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, sure. Well, so that quote actually came from, I'm not sure if it came from Jonathan Livingston Seagull, but it came from Richard Bach, who was the author of Jonathan Livingston Seagull, which is an amazing sort of spiritual journey type of book that was written in the 70s. A lot of you probably read it. We teach best what we most need to learn is the actual quote. But, when you really have an interest in learning something new, which I think most of us do as entrepreneurs, online or offline, if you're here right now, it's because you want to learn something new. I know that's, Eric and I both have a voracious appetite for new knowledge. We want to stay on the cutting edge of what's happening, not only just in our industry, but just what's happening in the development of the world, because, our goal is to create a positive impact in the world. So we know that we need to learn a lot of things. We need to experience a lot of things in that process. So when you have an interest in learning something new, take a deep dive into it, just really get into the details, really dive into what you want to absorb and then find a way to teach it. And, a lot of people say, well, how do I teach this? Or I'm afraid to teach it, or I don't even know yet. Well, if you set on your calendar a workshop or a group, book club group in your living room or whatever it might be, just meeting a few people to talk about something in the park, you're going to prepare yourself. You're going to learn more about that thing if you're expected to come in and be an authority. And the funny thing about authority is that you only have to know like that much more than the person that you're teaching. You need to be half a step ahead. And in fact, a lot of times in a mastermind environment, which we talk about a lot, nobody has to be the smartest person in the room, because there's this process of the minds coming together that kind of creates that flow. But, just go ahead, create a little workshop or have those friends over and talk about it, or, see if you can arrange for a special teaching session at a community college, or, give a talk to a business group. There's lots of ways to come at this, but the best possible way to learn something and to really dive into the details of it is to teach it, to commit to teaching it.
Well, and what's great about this is that with the advent of social media, I mean, you can jump on Facebook Live just like we are right now.
Yeah.
And you can teach what you just learned. And if you do that consistently, what's going to happen is you're going to develop an audience. You're going to develop people that follow you and are interested in what you have to say. And you're going to be teaching what you're doing, and like Jeff said, it just has to be a small amount more than what anybody else knows. And it might be something that you feel like, oh my gosh, everybody knows this. Well, there's thousands of people that don't, right? And
millions.
With social media, that's a great way to start doing that and putting yourself out there a little bit at the same time.
Yeah, it's a perfect way to do it. Just jump on live, have a few notes, a few bullet points. I mean, we could do this. Well, we are doing it live on Facebook. We're doing it inside of, a closed group, but you could do it live right on your own Facebook profile. And
Yeah.
Let's go teach this stuff to somebody.
Number 3, write it down.
Write it down. I mean, we always talk about taking notes during trainings, but writing things down in general, or just writing in general, actually creates new synaptic connections in the brain. So take the time to jot down notes, jot down your thoughts, jot down ideas and things that you want to learn. And remember, we live in this, we talk about this all the time, and it's pretty obvious, but sometimes I think we don't acknowledge it. We live in a distraction-oriented society. Like, we are the masters of chasing shiny objects. Social media is part of the reason for that, unfortunately. It's like it can be one of your greatest tools, but it can also be your biggest nemesis. So, those fleeting thoughts that come through, they can be supremely valuable to your productivity, and depending on what you do, even to your livelihood. Like, for me, a lot of what I do is, revolves around creating content, whether that's writing an article or doing a video or doing a training like this, or, we're working towards like podcasts and things like that. So, and music, writing music, writing songs, recording music. So I don't like to miss anything. And believe me, I learned this the hard way. Like, I use a voice recorder app on my phone now. But the bottom line is, like, there were years as a songwriter and musician where I would have a great idea and I would think that I was going to remember it because it was just such a cool thing. And I would, I'd go over it over and over in my head. It was really hooky. And I was like, oh, I'll never forget that. And then something happens. You get distracted. A few days goes by. I go back, I sit down with the guitar, and I can't even remember what I was playing. So a long time ago, I started using, believe it or not, I actually would carry around a cassette recorder, like the old handheld cassette recorder, and I would have it with me all the time in the car, whatever, so that I could hit record and grab that idea or throw that thing down. Then we got into little handheld digital recorders, and now I can do the whole thing on a really quick little app on my phone. And that's just to capture the idea, right? So if you really want to kick your brain into gear, then spend some time every day writing in a journal or on your computer. Just let the thoughts flow. If you are a creative person, you're like an author or a musician or a writer, songwriter, focus on doing that craft every single day. And, one of the things that I've been learning, I've been studying a lot of people who are really highly productive in the creative space, like really prolific. And it seems like there's one common element to all these guys. Like, Stephen King, for example, arguably one of the most prolific authors of our time, right? So he says, I sit down and I just write, I write 200 crappy words. That's my goal, is every day to write 200 crappy words. It never stops there. And then the good stuff comes afterwards. So just get started, even if you don't feel motivated, even if you don't feel inspired, and you'll be amazed at what this can do for your creativity, for your focus, and for your mental acuity.
Yeah. And this is a part that doesn't come very naturally to me as far as journaling goes, so, I just pick up the journal and I just write down the thoughts that come to my head, or an exercise that I'm working on that goes with, what I'm, not like a physical exercise, but whatever, thing that I'm working on that I need to dive into deeper. I'll just start just writing down what I need to do around that. What makes this a lot easier is if it becomes part of your routine. If you have a routine of journaling, if there's a specific time of the day that you spend that's allocated towards that, and then you're just for whatever that time frame is, be it 15 minutes or half an hour or an hour, whatever time frame, 5 minutes, sit down, you've got your journal, your pen, and you're there, and just whatever comes to mind, you start journaling on and start. And that's really the secret to starting to create things kind of out of the blue, things out of nothing. You start creating what it is, what happens when you journal is you get very clear on what it is that you want to have happen. And I think that's the missing ingredient for most people. They kind of float through life, letting life happen to them. And then they're not clear on what they want to have happen, so that there's no direction. There's nothing happening in their life because they're not clear. And if you're not clear, nothing's going to happen.
I think it's one of the most amazing tools ever for just like, if you have a problem, or like, let's just say, I'm not just necessarily talking about free flow of thought, that's a great way to get started. But like, if you have a problem in your business, you're trying to sort out how how to solve that problem. Start writing it down. Write down the problem. Start writing down like 10 solutions, even if they're ridiculous, not even possible in your mind right now, because that's what gets your brain flowing. Or I like to get in front of a whiteboard and I start to like mind map things, and I did this the other night, right before I went to bed. I got this flash of an idea and I just went to write it down so I wouldn't forget it. I have a whiteboard in my bedroom for things like that. So I wrote and this and then that, and then I have this whole board full of like this mind map of this idea. So it's amazing what flows and what comes from all that.
I'll cover number 4 because this is part of my existence is exercise every day. Even with this injury, I'm a big CrossFit guy. I'm a big biker. I can't do either of those things whatsoever. I'm 100% restricted to only walking. That's the only thing I'm allowed to do right now. But I walked 9.8 miles yesterday. I walked 6.5 miles today. And if that's the only thing that I can do, I'm going to do it. Okay. And I'm going to still get my exercise in, even though it's the only thing I can do. I'm not going to make an excuse and not do it. Right. So the thing about exercise is that it goes without saying, but it apparently maybe it doesn't, is that your brain thrives on water and oxygen. Right. And exercise, getting more exercise means getting more oxygen to the brain. It's really that simple, right? You don't have to be a triathlete or a marathon runner or anything like that. It can just start with taking a simple walk around the block, doing 10 push-ups or just one push-up, and that's where you start. But I want to challenge you as far as exercise. I believe your body is just this vessel that your spirit carries around for however many years we live in the physical being on this planet. That's what I believe. And so, you're in what you think you can do physically is only a fraction of what you actually can do physically. And I would challenge you to start pushing yourself in the area of exercise to doing on a weekly basis, doing 5% more exercise than you could do last week, like on a weekly basis, constantly doing a little bit more. Don't just kind of settle into a rut with your exercises, but kind of keep on upgrading what you can do. And because what that does is it's a mind expanding activity. You realize that you can do more than you thought you can do if you just keep on doing 5% more, 10% more every week. There's no end to that. That can go forever. Like if you can only do one push-up, maybe you can do one push-up this week. Next week, you can only do one push-up. And the week after that, you can only do one push-up. But you're working towards doing 2 push-ups. And I know that's double. That's doing 100% more. That's not 5% more. But if that's where you're at, that's where you're at. And then you're just kind of working towards getting better, becoming a better version of yourself in regards to your exercise. And at the same time, it expands your mind as far as what you believe your body is capable of for yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and it is all about mindset. It really is. Like, we could tell you 1,000 examples of how people have pushed themselves beyond capacity, but like we've all heard stories. Just as an example, this isn't really about exercise per se, but it's about superhuman strength. We've all heard the stories about the little old lady who had to lift a car off of a kid. Like, where does that come from? This is not just like a one-time thing that's an old wives' tale. Like, there's countless stories about people who, between the adrenaline rush and the need for strength, and it was just an absolute requirement for them to be able to do some superhuman thing. Well, what's the difference between who they were seconds before that and who they were when they performed that feat? It has to be here, right? It has to be here. Nothing changed in their physical ability. So that means to me that they had that physical ability all along. And that's exactly what Eric's talking about.
Yeah. And if you do that 5% more practice for yourself physically, what happens is you start doing the reps, right? You're doing enough to the point where you start to really believe in your ability as a person. And it's all mental. It's all like by doing the work, you start like realizing, hey, I can do more. I can be more. I can, and then that kind of goes from the physical, as far as exercise goes, to other things in your life. To
every area of your life.
I can be more financially. I can be a better husband, a better wife. I can be a better father. I can be, just all of the things in life. So just by doing the reps and putting the time in, you can you just get very confident, right? That you can make it happen, that you can get it done. So
yeah, this mindset thing it's not a trick, it's just a practice.
yeah.
And speaking of practice, number 5 is practice awareness. We talk about this component of life on a regular basis as well. You notice that there are themes, like there are core concepts, there's core basic fundamentals that we always are talking about. And the reason is they work. Okay, we say that over and over. We try to come at this with a different spin, a different angle on it, but really there are some core elements to what you can do in your life that just will work consistently over and over and over. And the more you practice, the better that you get, the more you believe in yourself, like Eric was just talking about. And then the more you can expand and raise the bar even further and come back to those same fundamentals and use the same exact process to raise the bar again. That's what it's all about. It's about continuing a cycle of improvement toward peak performance. So practice awareness. You can't change something in your world if you're not aware of what needs to change. This is really also a simple and actionable way to upgrade your memory. Just practice awareness. That means just to focus on one thing and one person at a time. We've had the debate about multitasking. We have this debate with women more than men, because women believe, and probably are, if there's such a thing as multitasking, women probably are better at it than men, more juggling more things in their lives. But the bottom line is that really your brain doesn't have the ability to focus on more than one thing at a time. It's just not physically possible for your brain to be focused in two completely different places at once. Now, that's not to say that you can't, listen to a book and walk at the same time, listen on audio. That's, things that you do on automatic, that's one thing. But, if you just focus on one thing and one person at a time, you're going to see that you're going to get much better, much more focused results. So, for example, is your business partner talking to you about an important idea, and instead of listening, you're thinking about your own important idea or what you're going to say next or how you're going to respond. I think that's a really self-defeating habit that a lot of people have in relationship and communication, is that somebody's talking to you and you're thinking about some clever thing that you're going to say next based on what they're telling you, as opposed to just really looking them in the eyes and listening to what they're saying and acknowledging what they're saying and taking that on and taking that in. So it's really simple just to take that few minutes and focus and be present. The people in your life will greatly appreciate it, for one, and they'll probably reciprocate, and you'll also quiet your mind in the process, which also leads to our next hack, which I'll give to Eric because that's kind of right in his wheelhouse.
A good way of practicing awareness is taking a thing that you normally zone out at. Let's say it's driving home from work or driving to work. And that's normally a totally mindless experience. I know you've like a lot of times, if you take the same route every time, you just kind of, all of a sudden you pull into the parking lot and you're like, oh, I'm here. I've arrived. You haven't been aware at all, but take like a boring, mundane thing that normally you just zone out while you're doing, and actually be aware 100% in that moment of what you're doing at that time. And that'll help you have better focus. The other thing to do is here's one thing that people always do, especially in training like this, is that they'll hear, oh, practice awareness. Yeah, I know that.
Right. Yeah.
And it gives their brain permission just to shut off and quit listening and to think about something else. What are we going to have for dinner tonight? What am I going to do after this? Or, whatever it is. And being, and I caught myself right as Jeff started talking about this. I started thinking in my mind, what am I going to say next within this, instead of listening to what he had to say. And instead I brought it back to paying attention and being aware. because it is the ultimate first step, really, is just awareness is the first. You got to be aware what's
Key to everything.
before you can fix anything. Yeah.
Yep. Literally the key to everything.
Yeah. So 6 is meditate. And both Jeff and I are huge proponents of meditation. And practicing meditation is a method of just quieting your mind, allowing your thoughts to drift without dwelling on anything in specific, and or just kind of I try to kind of empty my mind of thoughts. And one thing that works for me is either a mantra or a just focusing on my breath. And the mantra I have will just be like inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And there's a lot of different types of meditation, and I actually practice solo meditation, which is what I was talking about, which is trying to eliminate your mind of everything and just focusing on your breath, or trying to focus on nothing at all, and just paying attention to kind of what comes up for you in that process. The second kind of meditation are like a meditation app or an audio or a video that you can use to get started. That's really the easiest way, is what's called a guided meditation. That's the easiest way for somebody who's not used to meditation as a practice to get into the practice of it. Not really any fancy tricks or really anything to it. Just you want to sit quietly, either in silence or with some meditative music, and breathe and focus on your breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Try for a few minutes at a time. The thing about meditation is it definitely is a practice. It does take time to get used to meditating. If you've never meditated in your life, 1 or 2 minutes is really a good start initially. You can't say I'm going to meditate for the next hour. If you've never meditated in your life, it's not going to work. Your mind is just going to get in the way, and it's not going to be you can be fighting against yourself to do that. But just start slowly and practice and get better. It's called practice for a reason, because it's never perfection. You practice on it over and over and over. I think of yoga that way. You're always practicing in your yoga, and meditation, yoga kind of go hand in hand with me. It's kind of like a moving meditation, and you're being guided physically and trying to empty your mind of everything, not thinking about anything but what's being told to you. And that's like a moving meditation, and that way. So anyways, love meditation, huge proponent. Can't recommend.
Yeah. Keeps me at peace even on the worst days. You want to take the next one too, and I'll take the last two?
So 7 is get plenty of quality sleep. So that's my biggest nemesis right now. I'm in this device 24/7. I sleep in like 1 to 2 to 3 hours tops. Kind of last night I got 3 different 3-hour, 2 to 3 hour segments, which is really probably the best sleep I've had in a long time. And but it's so important to get your sleep, and part of that is just getting yourself to just go to bed, and instead of just staying up, and try to get yourself to go to bed at a consistent time, whatever time that might be. Try to be consistent with it. So your brain and body stay remarkably active while you sleep. And recent research also indicates that sleep plays a housekeeping role and removes the toxins in your brain that build up while you're awake. So if you don't get yourself real high quality sleep on a daily basis, you're going to be in a fog, in your brain. So you can refer back to our Finish Strong Friday episodes. A couple weeks ago, we talked about a number of tools you can use to improve your sleep quality. Actually, that talk motivated me to go out and buy a new mattress.
We teach what we most need to learn.
I just went out and bought it. I only slept on it one night prior to having my surgery, and I had the best night of sleep I'd had in months. I used a sleep cycle device to monitor my sleep quality, and but now I'm back on the recliner. to drag, but it is what it is, right? You got to do what you can do. You know, it's what it's all about. So anything to add to that, Jeff?
No, I mean, just the more I've gotten into the whole sleep thing, I mean, that's kind of what inspired us to do the training a couple of weeks ago on sleep. Just, we spent the whole thing on sleep. In fact, we didn't tell people what we were going to talk about because we didn't want people to think, oh, I already know that, just like Eric was just talking about. So we made it kind of a surprise. But I mean, the research that's coming out now about sleep, and it's just, it's mind boggling. I mean, we're in, you know, we used to be in the information age. I don't even know what we call the age that we're in right now, but I mean, the data that we're gathering on humanity and just this whole concept of peak performance that I'm so focused on right now.
I'd call it, Jeff, the age of awakening.
Yeah, it's like, wow. Look, and this isn't, you know, most of it's not new stuff. I mean, there's definitely some new technology. The stuff that we're talking about that you can use to improve your lives in these different ways, that's not new stuff, most of it. Some of it's based on technology. But what's really cool is that the things like meditation we were just talking about, you know, 30 years ago, you bring up meditation in a business environment and people roll their eyes in the back of their head and look at you like you're, you know, somebody from Northern California or something. I live in Northern California, in case you guys don't know. I didn't mention it at the beginning. But yeah, you know, I mean, it's like it's some sort of big woo-woo thing. But now big companies are actually promoting people to take breaks during the day and go meditate, and actually creating spaces for them to do that. So, you know, just the progression and evolution of what's happened through the research, you know, look, it affects the bottom line. It really does. And same thing here with sleep. You know, it's, you know, people, there's a lot of people out there, you may be one of them, that thinks you can get by on X, Y, or Z hours of sleep that are something less than 7, right? Oh, I can make it on 4 hours a night. I'm just going to call BS on that. I'm sorry. You know, the research indicates otherwise. You may be able to do it here and there, but you can't do it consistently and expect to have any level of peak performance in your life. So, you know, if you really want to get into the sleep thing, like Eric said, you know, go back to that episode. We dived deep into it. You know, we taught what we most needed to learn. We both had challenges with sleep. And we dived in to see what were the hacks that we could use to, you know, to solve that problem, and it's working. So the next one on the list, and
one other thing I was just going to chime in real quick was, as you were talking about, when I said age of awakening, I believe that we're at a point where, even though a lot of these concepts have been around for a long time, there was very, very few people in the world that were practicing them actively. And I believe that we're at the point where masses of people are becoming aware of really what it takes to live a peak performance kind of lifestyle in all areas of their life. And I think that, you know, social media allows that to happen a lot, you know, that the information's available to a lot more people and available to everybody, anybody that's got an internet connection. You know, even in areas of Africa that don't have any kind of modern anything, they have cell phones. And they've got access to the internet, and they've got access to information in a way that was never available in the past. So anyways, that's
in a way that's changing the world too, and for the better for the most part, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome. All right. So, so number 8 here is listen to and ideally move to music. Anybody who's known me more than 5 minutes knows that I've been a musician my whole life. So, you know, music is a big part of my life, but I think it's a big part of most people's lives. Like, I don't know anybody, I don't think I've ever met anybody that says, oh, I just really hate music. You know, everybody likes something in music, and music is a powerful brain trigger, and it's a great motivator. So just to give an example of the brain trigger, how many of you have, just type yes into the chat if you've heard a song, say in the last couple of days, that took you back to a place that was more than 10 or 20 years ago? Every day, right? You hear a song and all of a sudden you're in high school. You know, you're thinking about that first date, or you're thinking about, you know, something that happened then. Music is a really powerful motivator, and it's also one of those things that anchors knowledge. You know, it's like anchors situations, and anchors emotional experiences. It is an emotional experience. There's a reason why peak performers jam out to music when they're working. Right? So whether it's Mozart or Shinedown or the Beatles or Beethoven, you know, music fires up the neurons, and it also hits you almost at an intangible emotional level that triggers your brain to move into a motivation mode. Now, granted, you know, we're not going to go into a whole dissertation on the different types of music. I mean, there are things that, in my opinion, disrupt that also. But you know what? I mean, sometimes it's just personal taste. Like, I know I'm not a big hip hop fan, but my kids will jam out and get stuff done, listen to hip hop, right? So, I'm not gonna say that it's only this or only that works, but there are definitely research studies that have been done specifically around classical music, for example, right? Classical music and what they call like Mozart type of music. It's like 60 beats a minute. It's like an alpha wave state. And there's also music, like I compose music specifically, instrumental music that's designed to reduce stress or get you more focused or be, in a highly meditative state or whatever that might be. But, classical music can even reduce pain, stop seizures, and it also can help you with that battle with insomnia if you're having that. So it refers back to our sleep number back in the previously.
So it's funny you say that, Jeff. I was a song came on the radio yesterday. I was with Mary. It was Beatles, "Good Day, Sunshine," and I don't even know that that's the name of the song, but that's how I remember it. And I was I took a ski trip with my parents to Big Sky, Montana. It was the first time I grew up in North Dakota, no hills whatsoever, and it was the first time I was at a real mountain in my entire life. And the first 3 days we were there, it snowed like crazy. I think 120 inches of snow. And then the fourth day it got sunny. And I sang the song down the slope over and over and over to myself as I was skiing down this perfect powder slope. And I was 17 years old and I just kind of learning how to really ski for the first time ever. And it just brought me back to that. I'm just in that instant when I heard it. And I turned over to Mary and I said, "Hey, this is my skiing song."
My skiing jam. Well, you know what? It's funny. I hadn't heard this song for a long time. It's funny that you bring this up. Slow Ride by Foghat. I heard the other day, and they're touring again. Like all the classic rock bands seem to be touring again. But it reminded me that like that album, Fool for the City, I used to put that on every morning when I was getting ready for school in like 8th or 9th grade, whenever that came out. I think it was 9th grade. And it's just like, it took me right back to my bedroom and that house, putting the record on, going through my routine, taking a shower, getting ready, that whole thing. It's crazy. It took me right there. And I've heard the song 1,000 times since then. It's wild. So anyway, music is powerful. Arguably, and in my mind, maybe even the most powerful tool you can do to shortcut strong brain function and just get yourself into a better space. I mean, there's nothing like putting on your playlist or putting on your jam to just get yourself in a better space, when you're down or when you're feeling low. The last thing I want to talk about here, number 9, is to use brain training apps. Now, we talked about, these things are all things you can do for free. Some apps are things you have to pay for. You have to upgrade to get the really cool features. But, our technologically advanced lifestyles created all kinds of awesome tools that we can use to help our brains. And you can just look up brain training apps on your phone and see what comes up. My favorite, and one I've been actually using a lot lately, is called Luminosity. It's been around for a while, and it's, I think, got the brand awareness that, that's probably at a higher level than most. You can find it on Google Play or the Apple Store, but you can also do it right on your computer. So you don't have to have it as an app. I really enjoy it just because it's also entertaining. So that little ADD part of my brain likes to just like get focused on the game, but also know that I'm doing something that's actually improving my memory. So it's great fun. It's great memory improvement games. And along with that, you do progress tracking. So you can see where you're at last week versus where you are at this week. Like the first time I got it lately, I mean, I've had it before, but I got it last week and I was really tired. It was late at night and I was reading an article and it mentioned it. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. I used to have fun with that. So I downloaded it right before I was going to bed and my brain was fried. And I was just doing things going, all right, God, what's going on with me? I think I'm usually way better than this. And so I that was my baseline tracking for right before I went to sleep. And then the next day after I'd, taken some of my nootropics and I was like right in the zone with everything, I was just like improved by, I don't even know what the percentage was. It was off the hook. But yeah, it's the brain training stuff, the apps and the tools that you can use through even YouTube videos and such, they're really helpful. And all these things, like for people who are, like we're all getting older, right? We're all getting older, but we like to speak specifically to this age bracket that we're in. And we're going to say it's 40 to 65. You know, we're certainly on the upper end of that, or I am. And we've all grown up with parents or grandparents or people who have suffered through Alzheimer's or some other brain deficiencies that didn't seem to really even exist in previous generations. And, you know, we were looking at this and we're saying, well, how can we correct that? How can we make that better? And a lot of this is just using your brain in a certain way that allows you to keep focused, to keep that activity going on, to just sharpen up your skills. That's why we are bringing you these 9 brain training hacks today. So anything you want to add to that, Eric, before we wrap up?
Yeah, man, it's all good. It's all good. I think it's, you know, if you don't, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. I don't believe there's such a thing as staying the same. So if you're going to live, you might as well get better. And
Right.
so, and your brain is part of it, right? Your brain is important. So you need to pay attention to, you know, trying to learn new things, you know, trying to teach yourself different things. And everything that we're talking about here are going to be hacks to help your brain work better as you live your life. So
Yeah. It's funny. John just said coming of age song. He talked about it. But he said he's making a crack about putting the record on. I was commenting on putting the record on. There may be some people watching this that are like, what's a record? Although vinyl is making a big comeback right now. So, but yeah, it's
so when you mentioned that Foghat, Fool for the City, I had that on a tape.
yeah.
I listened to like over and over and over. Right. And you know what was weird is that I don't even know where I got it. And I don't remember being like into that music that much, but I just listened to that tape like over and over and over and over for like a summer.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we got a long list of those. I get to be a music junkie on certain things. I'll just listen to it over and over too. So I think we all have that happening in our lives. So, John's saying 8-track. Yeah, and 8-tracks too.
I Kiss 8-track tape was maybe the first. I don't think it was mine. It was like the family's, and then there was like what did we have? It was like Age of Aquarius. Whatever the band was that did Age of Aquarius, we had an 8-track tape.
Yeah, I don't remember who the original artist was from the musical, but
Yeah.
yeah, all right, yeah, we're really dating ourselves now. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Winter Brothers, Thin Lizzy, John saying, yep. All right, guys. Well, listen, there's our 9 brain training hacks for peak performance for this Finish Strong Friday. So just remember, you absolutely can and you should do everything in your power to improve your brain function, because it is the most powerful supercomputer in the universe, and everything you do relies on the proper function of your brain. So if you want to be more creative, if you want to think faster, if you want to be smarter, increase your IQ, and maybe even leap tall buildings in a single bound, then get yourself on a routine and practice these techniques. Practice training your brain for peak performance. Come back and tell us how you do. So go out there and crush it, you guys. Finish Strong Friday, #FSF. Go do whatever it is that you needed to do to wrap up your day and feel like you finished it strong this week. So thank you for being here. We will see you next time, and have a great weekend. Bye for now.
Peace. Appreciate you guys. Take care.